Previously, I had self-diagnosed my car as having an air leak. It had runaway revs and really high airflow. Now, with my car having carburetors and an engine from the 1980s, a Ford Pinto to be specific, from a Ford Sierra, there's not a right lot of information out there anymore about these cars. I changed the mounting gaskets, manifold gasket, and yet the problem still persisted. I was lucky enough to come across a carb specialist. However, before spending all that money, no doubt it'd be very expensive, I thought I'd give it one last hurrah, and my last resort was ask ChatGPT. And just prior warning as well, by the way, this video does not end on a high. ChatGPT missed something in the diagnosis process that I didn't miss, but it leaves me with a terrible decision to make, possibly the worst decision that you will have to make if you're a car owner. It's not selling the car, because this car will never be sold. So what did I actually tell ChatGPT? Well, I said I've got a Ford Pinto 2.1 petrol engine, so it's been bored out, it's not natural, it's not as God intended, with a Kent cam FR32, basically a fast road cam, light and flywheel with Weber 45 carbs. So it's had modifications, which is quite common with these engines. They don't exist as stock anymore, or at least I don't think so, because most people that have them buy them for modifying and racing or putting them in a kit car like what I've got. The problem is when not under load, i.e. when it's in gear, it's fine. When it's clutch depressed or it's not under load, it's in neutral, I'm getting runaway revs. When revving the engine, the revs do not immediately return to normal. So if I rev the engine, it carries on revving and then doesn't just immediately go back down. I can't blip it, as some people might call with carbs. In addition, I also said the airflow through the carbs is off the scale, not readable. So it's sucking in loads of air, which is a really bad thing. And obviously, what's the problem? Now, ChatGPT responded with many things. If you do want to read it all, then you can pause the video at some point, because I'm scrolling through it now. There's likely causes, some of which I knew it wasn't, because these carbs are new. So I don't think it's for any of these reasons, like throttle shaft wear. Visual hand check of the throttle, not needed. Spray test for leaks, I didn't do that, but I did replace all the problem areas for air leaks, which didn't fix the issue. Some other stuff that I just didn't think it could be, and I wasn't talented enough to check properly. So the 7th one here, check the ignition timing. That is what I intended to do, and I went into the garage with the intention of doing this, checking the ignition timing. I started the process of doing the things that ChatGPT has said might be the case. I thought I would be a diligent mechanic and check the oil catch can, which is basically a can that's part of the a can which catches all the crap that's blowing around in the crankcase. And I'm glad I did check it, because it revealed some sins. And this is where things start to go a little bit wrong. And ChatGPT did not tell me to do this, or that there could be possible oil issues, or that the piston rings could be worn. On seeing inside the oil catch can, it was a creamy, smelly of petrol mess. You can see the bubbles when you touch them, that's pure petrol. So there's fuel getting into the oil system, and at which point I thought the engine is toast. And I didn't just stop there. I also drained all the oil out of the sump. Naturally, you would do, just to make sure. Now, the oil coming out of the sump stunk of petrol, which reaffirmed my thoughts that the engine is absolutely toasted. Must be wrecked, because there's somehow fuel mixing with the oil, and probably a bit of coolant as well, which only means a bad bad thing. After seeing all this smelly, diluted oil, I thought I'd go back to ChatGPT and tell it what I'd found. It then gave me a likely causes list, which was most likely faulty or misset carbs, which is good news. Wouldn't mean that the engine's toast. Poor ring seals, that is bad news. That's an engine rebuild. To be honest, I thought it was the end when I seen fuel in the oil mixing, but ChatGPT has made me rethink maybe that it is just the carbs over fueling, because it went on to say Webbers need 3.5 psi or they flood. Now I do recall looking in the carbs and seeing a lot of fuel, and sometimes when I would first go back to them, like standing fuel in the carbs. I've never seen or used carbs before having this engine, so I kind of thought that was normal. Having read this, I'm happy to hear that it's not. But what has me more concerned than anything else, my fuel pressure regulator is a cheap crap thing, and that I would need to get a good one to make sure that it's regulated properly, because over fueling the carbs is dangerous and it can cause blow by, which is obviously what's happening. I'm not completely convinced though that this is the only problem. The first thing that it says for me to do, which I'm not yet skilled enough to do, is a compression test, which I would need to buy the equipment for, to make sure that the cylinders are holding compression and not leaking air or anything past the rings into the crankcase where it would mix with oil. Pressure test kit coming in the post, so hit subscribe, and in the next video I'll pressure test it and then make a decision whether I'm going to rip the engine out or just have the carbs sent off to be rebuilt. If the engine comes out, the carbs are obviously going to be sent off to be rebuilt anyway, because given that they look completely flooded, I think that needs to happen. It'd also be interesting to hear, if you're a mechanic, have you used ChatGPT before? Do you dare say in the comment section whether that is something you've done, will do, think is a good thing or not? It definitely helps with brainstorming ideas, and at least for me it has helped me along with this on this occasion.